Okay, so get this. What does some kid needing antibiotics in Berlin have to do with, like, China's ambitions in Taiwan? Kind of a weird connection, right?
Yeah, sounds totally random.
But that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today. Germany's economic dependence on China and how it all connects to this potential, like, powder keg situation with Taiwan.
Hmm.
We're diving deep into this article from Investor,
Okay.
the cost of dependency,
Catchy?
how Germany's relationship with China could spark global crisis.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense title.
I know, right? And the article, honestly, is a real eye-opener.
I mean, it's definitely a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
China's being more and more assertive on the world stage,
Yeah.
especially with Taiwan.
It's giving everyone serious Putin and Ukraine vibes.
Totally. And that whole, partnership they've got going on.
Oh, yeah. Their little bromance. Not helping.
Not helping at all.
And then you've got the Belt and Road Initiative,
Right.
which on the surface seems like, infrastructure and investment, good stuff. But it feels like, it feels very strategic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like China's playing this long game of, economic chess.
Exactly. Building up all these dependencies and then expecting loyalty in return.
It's almost like a subtle form of coercion, isn't it?
Yeah, they dangled these economic carrots.
But there's always strings attached.
What time?
And Germany is, I think, a perfect example of how this can really backfire.
Because they've become so reliant on China for basically everything.
It's a bit unnerving when you really look at the numbers.
Yeah, like their manufacturing, access to raw materials, even their pharmaceutical industry.
Pharmaceuticals. It's a big one.
That's where the story of this 6-year-old kid, Anton, from Berlin comes in.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually really sad, honestly, reading this part of the article.
What happened?
He got really sick, pneumonia,
Oh, wow.
and needed this very specific antibiotic,
Uh-huh.
cephalosporin.
Okay.
Turns out most of Germany's supply of a key ingredient for that comes from
You guessed it.
China.
Of course.
The doctor was even quoted in the article saying, when it isn't available, things become dangerous.
Yeah, that's scary.
I know. Luckily, Anton's okay.
That's good.
But it really makes you think. It's like,
Yeah,
it shows you how vulnerable this whole dependence thing makes Germany.
totally.
Well-
And not just on some abstract global scale. It's like,
Yeah.
this is impacting people's lives.
Yeah.
Real people.
On a very personal level.
Exactly.
So, okay, this shortage.
Yeah.
Is it just because of, like, the reliance on China?
Well, that's the immediate cause.
Yeah.
For sure. Disruption in the supply chain.
Yeah.
But it goes deeper, right?
Meaning?
Well, Germany just doesn't make enough of these essential medicines themselves anymore. So they're relying on a single source.
And when that gets disrupted,
You got problems.
a real wake-up call.
Big time.
And it's not just pharmaceuticals either. It's it's like this in a lot of industries, but this article focuses a lot on the car industry.
Yeah, makes sense. Germany and cars, I mean.
Right, huge industry there. But they're actually losing ground to Chinese companies.
Like BYD, for example.
Yeah, BYD. Especially when it comes to electric cars.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
I know. Volkswagen is like the quintessential German car, right?
Right.
To see them having trouble is honestly a little shocking.
It shows how quickly the tables can turn in this global market.
So why is BYD doing so well? Are they just like that much more innovative?
Well, they are innovative,
Yeah.
but they also get huge help from the Chinese government.
Subsidies and stuff.
Tons of subsidies.
Uh,
So their electric cars are, way more affordable.
so it's not just about being better. It's about having this artificial advantage.
Yeah, these subsidies make things really uneven.
Right.
Puts a ton of pressure on German car makers.
Jobs, the economy, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Classic example of how China uses its economic power to kind of,
Throw its weight around.
yeah, throw its weight around.
It all ties back.
Redefining global power dynamics.
Yeah.
But what does that even mean? Like, what's the current order and how's China trying to change it?
Right now, the global order is largely shaped by, Western-led institutions.
Yeah.
Trade, finance, security, all that.
Mm.
China, with its growing economy and military, wants to change that.
So they want more control.
Basically, they want a system that benefits them more.
And Taiwan's a big part of that.
Huge part.
Because,
Well, strategically, geographically, Taiwan is important, obviously.
right,
But they're also like a tech powerhouse.
especially when it comes to those, what are they called?
Semiconductors,
Yeah, the chips, right? Those
Mm.
tiny little chips that power everything.
everything, phones, computers, cars, you name it.
I'm starting to see why everyone's so nervous.
Yeah, If China got control of Taiwan's semiconductor production,
That would be a big deal.
a massive shift in power.
And potentially really bad for the global economy.
Nope.
And Germany, being so reliant on China, they'd be right in the middle of it.
Right in the crosshairs.
So we've got China doing its thing, Taiwan in a tough spot, and Germany stuck in this web of dependence.
It's a messy situation for sure.
This is where things get really interesting. Or maybe scary is the better word.
Let's unpack the potential fallout of this whole scenario, shall we?
What happens if China actually makes a move on Taiwan?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one with some pretty heavy implications.
I think we need to take a second to really dig into that.
Agreed.
So we've got this potential conflict brewing, and it's kind of unsettling, right?
Yeah, definitely not something you want to think about too much.
But we kind of have to think about it. Like, what happens this goes down? What kind of fallout are we talking about here?
Okay, well, let's just say the global repercussions would be massive.
Massive how? Give me specifics.
Okay, think economic shockwaves, supply chains going haywire, political instability.
So basically the whole world goes into a tailspin.
Pretty much. And for a country like Germany, so deeply reliant on China, it could be absolutely devastating.
Now, if we're talking more than just iPhones getting a bit more expensive.
Oh, way more than that. Remember those semiconductors we were talking about?
Yeah, the little chips that power everything.
Exactly. Taiwan produces most of the world's supply.
Okay.
If China takes control of that, it's not just about consumer electronics anymore. We're talking about everything.
Everything.
Cars, medical equipment, critical infrastructure. Everything could come to a screeching halt.
It's like the whole world runs on these tiny little chips.
And suddenly, China's holding all the cards.
Okay, that's not a good picture, but let's try to be a little more optimistic here.
Okay.
What can Germany actually do to, disentangle itself from all this?
It's a tough situation, no doubt.
Yeah.
But they're not totally powerless.
So there's hope.
There's always hope.
Okay, so what's the plan? What can they do?
Well, diversification is key.
Diversification meaning?
Not putting all their eggs in the China basket.
Right. But where else can they turn? Who else is out there?
There are actually quite a few options.
Like?
India, for instance, is becoming a major player. They've got a huge manufacturing sector.
Okay, India. What else?
Vietnam's attracting a lot of companies that are moving away from China.
Right. I've heard about that.
They've got a lot to offer.
So shifting some manufacturing to other countries could help.
Definitely.
But what about those essential resources? Those pharmaceutical ingredients we were talking about? Can they really find those somewhere else?
That's where investing in domestic production comes in.
You mean making those things themselves?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fostering self-sufficiency. Germany's got a lot of potential there.
I mean, they're known for their engineering, right?
Exactly. They could bring those supply chains back home.
But isn't that, super expensive?
Yeah, there will be costs involved.
I mean, wouldn't that mean, higher prices for everyone in Germany?
There might be some adjustments at first, but
But
it's about weighing those short-term costs against the long-term benefits.
so security, stability, all that.
Exactly. Think of it as an investment.
An investment in a more stable future.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that. But Germany can't do this alone, right? What about the European Union? What role do they play in all of this?
The EU is absolutely essential. They can provide support, help with trade deals, coordinate with these new partners.
So it's like a team effort.
Exactly.
The EU can be like, safety net.
And a facilitator.
Makes sense. Strength in numbers and all that.
Right. And a strong, unified EU sends a message to China.
We're not going to just stand by and watch you do whatever you want.
Exactly. They need to present a united front.
This whole thing feels I don't know, this really delicate balancing act.
It is.
You've got the economic reality on one side,
Right.
and then these fundamental values on the other.
It's about finding the right balance.
And, the decisions that Germany makes, the EU makes,
Yeah.
they're going to have huge consequences.
Globally, not just for them.
It's kind of overwhelming, It's what can we even do as individuals?
That's a common feeling. But don't underestimate your own power.
Wait, really? What can I do?
Every choice we make as consumers, as citizens, has an impact.
Okay,
Supporting local businesses, thinking about where our products come from.
Yeah.
Speaking up, advocating for better policies.
So basically, just being more aware.
And making conscious choices.
Choices that align with our values.
Exactly.
So it's not just about governments and big companies, it's about all of us.
We're all part of this.
We can all make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about the risks, we've talked about the need for change, but let's get down to brass tacks here. What can Germany actually do to break free from this dependence on China?
Well, we've touched on some key strategies already.
Right.
Diversification is huge.
Yeah, finding new partners, new markets.
Yeah.
So less reliance on China. We talked about India and Vietnam. Are there other countries where Germany could, I don't know, make some
Yeah,
headway?
like Southeast Asia's got a ton of potential.
Okay.
Indonesia, Malaysia,
Uh-huh.
they're becoming big players in manufacturing and trade.
Interesting.
And we shouldn't forget about Africa.
Africa. Really?
Yeah, there were some countries there, Ethiopia, Kenya. Um, they're seeing amazing economic growth.
Hmm. So it's about looking beyond the usual suspects, exploring these new markets.
Exactly. And Germany needs to be proactive, build relationships, foster trust.
Show that they're serious.
Unidia.
Mm.
Exactly. And this is where the EU can really come in.
Right. We talked about
A
it.
united front.
Yeah.
That carries a lot of weight when it comes to trade deals, getting access to these new markets.
Okay, so diversifying trade is one thing, but what about becoming more, I don't know, self-sufficient? Can Germany really ramp up production themselves? Pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, all that. It's not like they can just snap their fingers and have new factories.
True. Takes time. But Germany's got a lot going for it.
Like what?
Well, their workforce is highly skilled.
Yeah.
They've got this history of innovation, and their engineering, top-notch, respected worldwide.
Okay, so how do they use that to their advantage?
It's about giving companies a reason to bring those supply chains back home.
Reasons meaning.
Incentives,
Oh, okay. Like what kind of incentive?
tax breaks,
Uh-huh.
subsidies,
Okay.
make it financially attractive.
Right, so it's worth their while to set up shop in Germany.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Subsidies can help cover the initial costs,
New facilities, retraining workers,
all of that. And of course, streamlining the regulations,
to make it easier to do business.
especially in sectors like pharmaceuticals.
But doesn't all this mean higher prices for consumers?
Mhm.
If they're making things in Germany, won't things get more expensive?
There might be some adjustments in the short term,
Uh-huh.
but you got to look at the bigger picture.
The long-term benefits.
Exactly. Security, stability, all that. And Germany's got a strong social safety net.
Right.
They can help people through any tough times.
So it's about making smart investments now to be better off in the future.
That's the idea.
And specifically for things like pharmaceuticals,
Uh-huh.
Germany should really focus on research and development.
Absolutely. Especially for those essential medications.
Like cephalosporin.
Exactly. Imagine if Germany became a leader in producing those antibiotics.
Wow. That would be a game changer.
It would. Less reliant on China, and they can help other countries too.
Turn a weakness into a strength. What about semiconductors? They seem pretty important.
Hugely important. And this is where working together could really pay off.
How so?
Germany could lead the way in forming a European consortium,
Okay.
pool resources, expertise,
Hmm.
build a strong semiconductor industry right here in Europe.
Kind of like they did with Airbus.
Exactly like that.
Joint effort, big success.
They could do the same thing with tech.
So it's about working together, not going it alone.
Strength in numbers.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's be real here. Even if Germany does all the right things, it's going to take time, right? This shift away from China.
It's a long process.
Years, probably.
There will be challenges for sure.
Setbacks, maybe even pushback from some companies who don't want to change.
Of course. But Germany's been through a lot.
Yeah.
They've faced economic crises, rebuilt their country. They're adaptable. They're innovative.
They can handle it.
Exactly.
It's not going to be easy,
No,
but they can do it.
I agree. And it's not just about the government or big companies either.
It's about the people.
The German people, they need to be on board.
So it's about raising awareness, starting a conversation,
Getting everyone involved.
and that's where we come in.
Right. In a way, yes.
We've got to stay informed, stay engaged,
Make conscious choices.
choices that support this, move towards a more independent, resilient Germany.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground here. What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we're all connected. What happens in one part of the world impacts everyone.
That's for sure.
Germany's story is a wake-up call, really. It shows us that dependence on any one country can be dangerous. But it also shows us that we can adapt. We can change.
There's hope.
Absolutely.
We can build a better, more stable world.
Together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something new today, and we encourage you to keep exploring these issues, keep the conversation going, because it matters what happens next. Well, that's up to all of us.